You believe that voicing your desires makes you honest, perhaps even courageous. But in truth, it brands you as weak, predictable, and easily controlled. Today, we dismantle the illusion. And I will show you why expressing desire is not a virtue, but a fatal exposure. In the game of power, men do not fall because they are hated. They fall because they reveal too much. The moment a man bears his longing, be it for love, success, approval, or conquest, he becomes visible, vulnerable, and manipulable. The wise ruler cloaks his intentions beneath indifference. The predator stalks in silence, never showing his hunger until the kill is certain. In this world, to desire openly is to surrender your blade before the battle even begins. In this lesson, we descend into the undercurrent of human behavior, to expose the subtle art of concealment, emotional silence, and the devastating advantage of the unreadable mind. You desire something, perhaps power, respect, love, or success. You yearn for it openly. You speak of it freely, wearing your want like a badge of honor. But ask yourself, what have you done? What advantage have you claimed by revealing this inner flame? The truth, sharp and unforgiving, is this: when you reveal your desire, you gift your adversaries the precise instrument to control you. You become a map to your own imprisonment. Consider the great rulers and strategists of history. Did they parade their cravings before the court? Did they confess their ambitions to those who thirsted for their downfall? No. The lion that roars loudly in the open field soon finds itself trapped. The silent hunter, patient and unreadable, is the one who claims the kill. Visibility is vulnerability. Take Caesar Borgia, for instance. A man whose name still rings through the corridors of power. He understood that desire must be cloaked in shadows. He never proclaimed his intentions, nor did he expose his vulnerabilities. Instead, he let rumor swirl, uncertainty reign. This uncertainty forced others to guess, to hesitate, to falter. And in that hesitation, he seized the moment to strike. You see, the moment you disclose your longing, you give your opponents a weapon forged from your own wants. Your desire becomes their leverage. Ask yourself, who benefits when you speak openly about your ambitions? The answer is never you. The one who listens gains insight into your next move. They learn where to strike, when to manipulate, and how to bind you in chains invisible but unbreakable. Now, let us peer into the darker folds of human psychology. Why does man reveal desire so readily? Because beneath the armor of reason lies the desperate need to be understood, to be accepted. But this need is your undoing. The mind that seeks approval surrenders its power. When you reveal what you want, you are no longer the master of your fate. Instead, you hand the reins to those who would see you weakened. Consider the psychology of negotiation. The best negotiators never reveal their bottom line. They mask their true desires, creating a fortress of ambiguity. By contrast, those who disclose their desires early and clearly are swiftly outmaneuvered. You become a pawn in a game you thought you controlled. Look around at the social dynamics of today's world. People parade their desires like trophies on social media, in conversations, in business dealings. Yet this openness invites exploitation. When you reveal your desire, you broadcast your weakness to the masses. Every eye that watches, every mind that listens, crafts a strategy to exploit that want. History is littered with examples where revealing desire led to downfall. Julius Caesar, despite his genius, had moments where his openness betrayed him. His enemies sensed his ambitions and struck decisively. Had he been more guarded, the outcome might have been different. But the lesson is clear: concealment is survival. You might argue, but honesty builds trust. Is trust more valuable than control? In the brutal arena of power, trust is a commodity sold cheaply to those who are easily manipulated. To survive and thrive, you must master the art of concealment. Trust is a luxury afforded only when you hold overwhelming strength. Now imagine a chess game. The moment you expose your strategy, your opponent gains the advantage. Desire spoken aloud is a move revealed too soon. In contrast, the player who conceals intentions, who feigns weakness or indifference, manipulates the board. They invite their opponent to overreach, to commit errors, to reveal their own weaknesses. Let me bring this closer to you. When was the last time you told someone what you truly wanted and felt regret soon after? Perhaps they used that knowledge to sway you, to pressure you, or to deny you. That sting is the price paid for your openness. Yet, why do we keep paying it? Because desire, like fire, blinds the eyes and clouds judgment. But what if you could master this fire? What if you could desire without revealing, want without weakness? This is the craft of the truly powerful. To move through the world with hidden motives, to allow others to reveal their intentions while you remain an enigma. To turn your desire into a silent engine of power, not a glaring beacon of vulnerability. Reflect now. What would happen if you stopped telling your adversaries what you want? If your desires became secrets buried deep, accessible only to your calculating mind? You would become unpredictable, untouchable, a force that others must guess at and fear. Yet, this mastery requires cold discipline. It demands you separate your internal fire from your external expression. It forces you to appear indifferent, detached, even uninterested. This is no easy task. It is a war against your own nature, the need to be seen, heard, and understood. But remember, power is not given, it is seized, and the first step in seizing it is to stop revealing your hand. You have now glimpsed the first vital truth. Desire revealed is leverage given. But this truth is but one stone in the foundation of mastery. What of the silent strength behind indifference? How does invisibility translate into control? How do the great manipulators move in shadows while their prey stumble in the light? Prepare yourself. The next truth will cut even deeper, and so we continue. You have a desire. But do you rush to declare it like a child craving attention? Or do you sit silent, watching, waiting, knowing the true strength lies not in words but in restraint? The wise, those who grasp the cold mechanics of power, move in silence. They understand that to speak too soon is to hand your advantage away. Ask yourself who wins the war of minds: the loud, desperate claimant of desires, or the silent observer who lets others reveal their hands first? History teaches us one undeniable lesson. Power belongs to the patient and the silent, not the vocal and the eager. Look back to the halls of Renaissance courts, where intrigue and ambition were weapons sharper than any sword. Those who shouted their wants were swiftly cut down. The greatest princes and captains knew this well. They masked their desires behind a calm facade. They never rushed to display their hunger for power, nor their need for alliance, for fear that this would signal weakness and invite attack. Consider Lorenzo de' Medici, the Magnificent, master of Florence. He rarely revealed his true ambitions openly. Instead, he listened. He observed. He let others betray their intentions in their eager speeches, their careless boasts. In that silence, he gained insight, advantage, control. The quiet man is always the last to strike, and the first to conquer. This is not mere historical fancy. It is a timeless truth embedded in human nature. Why? Because the world is a stage where every actor watches the others closely, seeking signs of weakness. When you express desire, you become an open book, a script written plainly for all to read. And those who read you most skillfully will write your downfall. Psychology confirms this with brutal clarity. The human brain is a master of pattern recognition. When someone reveals what they want, others unconsciously shift strategies to exploit that want. They move closer if it benefits them. They set traps if it serves their ends. Your silence denies them this power. Your calm concealment keeps your enemies guessing. Think of a predator stalking prey. Does it announce its hunger? Does it shout its intentions across the forest? No. It moves quietly, carefully, blending with shadows, waiting for the perfect moment. The silent predator commands the hunt. The noisy challenger is quickly exposed and driven away. What about in your own life? How often have you seen someone blurt out their desires only to be manipulated, dismissed, or betrayed? To confess your wants is to surrender your initiative. To move in silence is to keep the initiative for yourself. But silence is not mere muteness. It is a weapon forged from discipline and intelligence. It demands mastery over your impulses, the primal urge to seek approval, to be liked, to be understood. This mastery transforms desire from a glaring beacon into a quiet, burning flame, fueling your actions without revealing your hand. Look at the greatest negotiators, diplomats, and strategists. Their power lies not in words, but in the pauses between them, in what they choose not to say, in the steady gaze that reveals nothing, in the calm patience that frustrates opponents into mistakes. You might believe that expressing desire shows strength. Yet, it reveals the opposite. It reveals your dependence on others' goodwill, your need for validation, your fear of solitude. The strong move like shadows, felt but unseen, influencing but never controlled. History's harshest lessons come from those who rushed to declare what they wanted. Think of King Charles I of England, whose stubborn declarations ignited a civil war he lost because he showed no flexibility nor concealed his aims. Or Napoleon, whose relentless ambition was clear to all, and ultimately led to his exile. Their power was not in their desire, but in their failure to hide it. Now, imagine what it means for you to master this silence, to move through your world as a presence that never reveals its true longing, to watch others expose themselves like open books while you remain an unreadable cipher, to let others exhaust their strength in loud claims while you conserve yours for the decisive moment. This path demands cold calculation. It demands you become comfortable with discomfort. The discomfort of restraint, the discomfort of withholding, the discomfort of being misunderstood. But it is only through this discomfort that true power is forged. Ask yourself now, are you prepared to move beyond the weakness of exposure, to cultivate the silence that confounds your enemies and commands respect, to wield patience like a blade sharper than any boast, because the strong do not chase, they wait, they watch, they strike. But silence alone is not enough. What if the silence itself could be turned into a signal? What if the absence of desire became the greatest provocation? What if appearing indifferent was the ultimate form of control? These questions lead us deeper into the art of power. Prepare yourself for the next revelation, where indifference becomes weaponized and the unreadable mind becomes an empire in itself. The game has only just begun. Visibility breeds vulnerability. Hear these words well, for they are the cornerstone of power's cold calculus. When you step into the light, bearing your desires, intentions, or fears, you become a target. Your enemies see you clearly. Your weaknesses are exposed like a fortress with its gates wide open. The world's most ruthless lesson is simple: to be seen is to be struck. Ask yourself, why do the most cunning rulers shroud themselves in mystery? Why do emperors surround themselves with smoke and mirrors, never revealing their full strength? Because the moment your motives are known, you lose control. You invite attack. Your vulnerability becomes a weapon in the hands of those who watch patiently, waiting for your moment of weakness. Consider the Roman Emperor Augustus. He mastered the art of invisibility and power. Though supreme ruler, he never flaunted his ambitions. He presented himself as the humble restorer of the Republic, masking his true authority. His visibility was carefully curated, a facade that protected the core of his power from the prying eyes of rivals. Had he exposed the full extent of his desire for absolute control, the Senate and people would have united against him. Instead, he moved in shadows, unassailable because they could not strike what they could not see. The lesson is brutal in its simplicity. Visibility is a beacon to your enemies. When you reveal what lies beneath, you offer them a map to your downfall. Your expressions, your words, your very presence, all betray your internal state. The shrewd observer reads you like an open scroll, extracting every weakness and turning it into strategy. Look to the world of espionage and manipulation. The spy who broadcasts their mission is soon captured. The politician who wears their ambitions like a banner is soon undermined. The business leader who openly declares their goals invites rivals to preempt their moves. Why? Because exposure breeds vulnerability, but there is a deeper psychological layer at work. Humans instinctively seek patterns. When you are visible, when your emotions, desires, or fears are clear, you become predictable. Predictability is death in the realm of power. If your opponents can anticipate your moves, they can block, counter, and destroy you before you act. Now, reflect on your own life. How often have you been betrayed or outmaneuvered when you thought you were honest and clear? How often did your openness provide others the key to manipulate or deceive you? The world does not reward the transparent. It exploits it. You might say, but honesty builds trust. A dangerous illusion. Trust is a fragile currency, often exploited by the ruthless. The powerful understand that trust is a tool, not a virtue. It is granted sparingly, withheld strategically. To be vulnerable is to be weak. History offers endless examples. Take the fall of Richard III. His enemies knew his ambitions and his weaknesses, having seen his true face too clearly. Their knowledge became their weapon. Contrast this with the invisible hand of Cardinal Richelieu, who concealed his desires beneath layers of diplomacy and secrecy. His power was nearly untouchable because he was unreadable. Consider the masterful silence of figures like Stalin or Churchill. They revealed little. Their faces betrayed nothing. Their true intentions were cloaked in layers of calculation. Because of this, their enemies stumbled, uncertain how to strike. Visibility breeds vulnerability also because it creates emotional exposure. When you show your desires, you expose your hopes, your fears, your dependencies. These emotional signals are the first to be exploited. Others learn what matters most to you and hold it hostage. This is why power often prefers the mask to the face. The mask does not reveal emotion. It does not betray desire. It projects strength, indifference, and inscrutability. It confounds opponents and keeps them guessing. Your face, your words, your actions, guard them like a fortress. Reveal only what misleads. But how to master this invisibility? It begins with control over your expressions and restraint in your speech. The smallest twitch, the faintest sigh, the unintended glance, all are betrayals. Discipline your body and mind to reveal nothing, to become a closed book. The payoff is immense. The unreadable are feared. They command respect. They hold the upper hand in negotiations, alliances, and conflicts. They are the hunters, not the prey. Now, imagine the world where your visibility is limited, where your desires remain unseen, your emotions untraceable. You become a shadow moving through daylight, a presence felt but never fully grasped. Your enemies strike blindly, wasting their efforts, revealing their own vulnerabilities in the process. This mastery of invisibility is the keystone to dominance. But it is not without its cost. To hide is to live in solitude, to wear masks endlessly, to suppress the human urge for connection and expression. Yet power demands sacrifice. So, I ask you, are you prepared to sacrifice your transparency for strength? To become a fortress rather than an open field, to cultivate invisibility as a weapon sharper than any blade? Because the next truth awaits. One that turns invisibility into an active force. One that transforms emotional detachment into power itself. Stay with me, for the lesson deepens. The shadows are where true power thrives. Are you ready to dwell there? Dependence is the silent chain that binds the powerless. When you openly desire, you do more than reveal your wants. You place your fate in the hands of others. This is a harsh truth few dare to admit. Desire, expressed without restraint, breeds dependence. And dependence is the doorway to submission. Ask yourself, who holds the true power in any relationship? The one who commands alone, or the one who must beg for favor? The answer is clear. To desire openly is to admit weakness. It is to become vulnerable to the whims, caprices, and manipulations of those you seek to influence. Consider the great masters of control throughout history. Did they reveal their needs? Did they plead for assistance? No, they cultivated independence, at least in appearance, and demanded respect through fear, awe, or cunning. They understood that to need is to be at the mercy of another. To desire openly is to wear the yoke of dependency. Look to the example of Julius Caesar. Though a man of immense ambition and power, Caesar concealed his true needs beneath layers of calculated display. He projected strength, decisiveness, and unyielding will. His few vulnerabilities were carefully hidden, for revealing them would have invited rivals to tighten the noose around his neck. His eventual downfall was not from desire expressed, but from a failure to guard his circle of trust. And that is a different story. Dependence is not only a political weakness, it is a psychological cage. When you seek fulfillment from others, you surrender your emotional autonomy. You allow their approval, their acceptance, their responses to dictate your state of being. This is the root of many failures in power. The inability to stand alone, the compulsion to seek validation. Consider how often in your own life desires, spoken aloud, have been used against you. The promises you made, the favors you sought, the alliances you begged for. Were you not then at the mercy of those who held the power to grant or withhold? Your voice, your openness, became your leash. This principle applies to all realms: love, business, politics. The moment you reveal your longing for another's favor, you become subordinate. You shift from player to supplicant. Look to the psychological dynamic known as neediness. It repels the powerful because it signals lack of control. Those who appear independent and self-contained command respect and fear. They are perceived as forces, not as victims. Consider the Machiavellian use of isolation. The wise prince surrounds himself with those who need him, not those he needs. Dependents become allies, but those who are dependent on others remain weak. In contrast, the desperate and the wanting become easy prey. They can be coerced, manipulated, and betrayed because their survival depends on others. This is the true cost of expressed desire. Reflect now on the modern world. Social media, constant communication, the obsession with connection, all these foster dependence disguised as community. When you crave likes, approval, or affirmation, you are handing over your power piece by piece. The lesson is cold but clear. Desire openly expressed is a declaration of dependence, and dependence is the chain that binds the will. So, what is the alternative? The alternative is emotional sovereignty. To cultivate a mind and spirit so self-reliant that external approval is irrelevant. To harbor desire quietly, to pursue it relentlessly, but never to admit it. To let your actions speak, not your words. Look to the Stoics and the great thinkers who preach detachment not as weakness but as strength. The ability to want without needing, to move through the world indifferent to others' opinions. But do not mistake indifference for apathy. This is a calculated coldness, an armor forged in the fires of experience and discipline. Is the power to stand alone without crumbling. Imagine a leader who desires a throne yet never reveals it. Who commands loyalty not through pleading, but through silent authority. Such a leader does not depend on the fickle favor of the masses, but creates a sphere where dependence flows toward him, not from him. Now, you face a choice. Will you continue to expose your desires and become shackled by dependence? Or will you master the art of emotional autonomy, building a fortress around your will that cannot be breached? This path is difficult. It demands sacrifice, detachment, and relentless self-control, but it is the path of those who seize power rather than beg for it. Yet mastery of independence alone is not enough. What if the very appearance of indifference could be weaponized? What if by seeming detached, you could pull others deeper into your influence, making them desperate for your favor while you remain untouched? The next truth awaits. One where indifference is not weakness, but a devastating tool. Prepare yourself. The art of power deepens. Indifference is not weakness. It is the sharpest weapon concealed beneath a calm exterior. The world mistakes apathy for frailty, but the powerful know better. Indifference is control perfected. To wield it is to command others without uttering a single word, to bend wills by showing no will at all. Ask yourself, how many have fallen simply because they revealed too much emotion? How many battles lost for the want of cold detachment? Look back through the annals of power. Consider the great rulers who mastered the art of appearing indifferent. They understood that showing passion invites attack. It signals that you care, that you can be hurt, that you can be manipulated. The moment you reveal that your desire matters, you give your enemies leverage. But the one who feigns indifference holds the upper hand. They become unreadable, unassailable. Think of Elizabeth I of England. She famously cultivated an aura of calm detachment, a royal stoicism that concealed the turbulent desires and fears within. Her subjects and enemies alike were kept guessing, Was she pleased or displeased? Interested or bored? This ambiguity was her armor. Through her indifference, she controlled courtiers, diplomats, and even potential rivals. No one could predict her next move because she showed no hint of internal struggle. This is the essence of emotional mastery. Indifference is a mask worn by those who seek power, not to hide weakness, but to project strength. It forces others into a state of uncertainty and submission. When you appear indifferent, you deny your opponents the satisfaction of provoking you. You withhold the response they crave, the reaction that gives them meaning and control. Psychology reveals this in the way human beings are wired. We seek emotional cues to guide our behavior. When faced with someone who does not respond as expected, who refuses to show anger, fear, or desire, we are disarmed. Our strategies falter because we cannot read the signs. Indifference disrupts the social game, leaving your adversaries grasping in the dark. Consider the power of silence in negotiation. The one who remains calm, detached, and unreadable forces the other to reveal too much, to make mistakes. Indifference is a trap. It invites others to overreach, to expose their own desires and weaknesses. You do not have to act aggressively. Your very lack of reaction is aggression. Even in personal relationships, indifference is devastating. To show that you are unaffected by insults, by rejection, by manipulation, is to take away your enemy's weapon. When they realize their efforts to provoke you fail, their power diminishes. They become desperate, reckless, predictable. Yet indifference must be genuine or masterfully feigned. A false mask is quickly pierced, and the wearer is exposed to ridicule and defeat. True indifference springs from discipline, a cold calculation that suppresses impulse and emotion in favor of strategy. It is the ultimate form of self-control. History is filled with those who mastered this art. Napoleon's inscrutable gaze, Stalin's poker face, and the impenetrable calm of many ruthless monarchs all demonstrate the power of indifference. They did not waste energy showing what they felt. Instead, they channeled it into decisive action, taking others by surprise. Ask yourself, how often do you reveal your feelings in moments when restraint would serve you better? How often have your emotional reactions been used against you? When you learn to appear indifferent, you learn to protect your power. But beware, indifference is a double-edged sword. It isolates, it distances. It can create enemies who mistake your detachment for disdain or arrogance. Yet these are the necessary sacrifices on the path to mastery. Imagine moving through the world as a figure cloaked in silence and stillness, whose calm unsettles others more than any outburst ever could. Your indifference becomes a weapon of psychological dominance. You provoke others to act while you remain unmoved, unshaken, always several steps ahead. This is not mere apathy. It is calculated detachment, a strategic reserve of energy. The indifferent do not waste their force on futile reactions. Instead, they conserve it for the decisive moment, striking when their opponents are off balance. Now consider this. What if your indifference could be turned into a magnet, drawing others toward you, compelling their attention even as you reveal nothing? What if by withholding reaction, you made others desperate to understand your mind, to win your favor? The next truth reveals this paradox. A truth where indifference is not a wall, but a siren's call, where power hides in the quiet spaces between words and gestures. Prepare yourself. The art of emotional mastery is only beginning. The greatest power lies not in desire expressed, but in desire concealed, masked by indifference. Will you learn to wear this mask? The next lesson awaits. Power is a shadow cast in silence. To control without being seen is the highest art. You do not conquer by force alone. You conquer by subtlety, by weaving invisibility around your desires. Do you reveal your hand, or do you hide it? Do you provoke your enemies, or do you leave them guessing? Control is not loud. It is cold, calm, and hidden. Those who show their needs become puppets. Those who master indifference pull the strings. Ask yourself, where do you stand in this game? Are you the hunted or the hunter? The path to power is forged in shadows and silence. Master it, and you command more than kingdoms. You command minds. Now, speak. Comment below your thoughts. your revelations or doubts. Subscribe for more lessons from the depths of strategy. Share this knowledge. Let others learn the deadly art of unseen control. Remember, power is taken by those who know how to hide their desire. Will you be one of them?